Hello, everybody. Welcome to the timely and well-updated Final Fantasy Wiki podcast. I'm your eternal Lord and Savior,
And director.
and bureaucrat, and friend to the children everywhere. I'm joined with the two regular suspects. Introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Eric Fuchs. You can find me at other things, but you also know me as Blue Highwind. You can also find Blue Highwind on other things. Next guy.
Hi, I'm Techno Obliterator. I'm here again, as expected.
And
Hi, Techno.
And today we're here to talk about a game that was released like 3 months ago.
It was 3 months ago, jeez.
It was 2 months and 1 week.
We were here to
Almost
talk about a
exactly.
game that was released 2 months and 1 week ago.
In our defense, the game is 50 hours long.
Yeah, the game's really long, so it took me a while to play it.
I have not beaten it. I'm only on Chapter 7.
Almost platinumed it.
It's really easy to platinum. Anyway, the game is Final Fantasy 15. It's the 15th game in the Final Fantasy series, except it's not because there's like a million spin-offs. It's more
like the 50th.
It's more like the 100. It's like the 120th game. But it's it's the 15th Roman numeral game, and we're here to give you the down low and the real scoop on the Final.
Yeah, let's wrap, everybody.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's turn our table. Let's turn our chairs around. Sit on our chairs backwards. We're gonna go give you the real scoop.
This is the funkiest take on Final Fantasy 15 you're ever gonna hear. So don't
this is
go
the Final
anywhere.
Fantasy Wiki trying to get in cool with the kids.
Oh
now.
yeah, we're hip for the kids. Let me tell you.
Yeah,
because this is a podcast for beginners and longtime fans.
I mean, Techno, you're like 12, right?
Fuck off.
All right, so we all have our opinions on this game. We represent the spectrum of people who played this game, presumably. Alphabetically, we fit an alphabetical scale too. The person whose name starts with blue or B is not thinks it's an irrelevant game. I, starting with S, think I'm somewhere in the middle, and the person starting with T likes the game. So we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna jam, as they say.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. Who wants to go first, giving their take on it?
I think my name goes first in the alphabet, so I should go last.
Yeah. So the last alphabet goes.
So we're gonna start with the Debbie Downer, folks.
Okay. All right. I'll go first then. All right. So this past fall, Square Enix went and promised us a game that would be for both new fans and old fans. It was a game that represented, in a lot of ways, what we've been looking for in the Final Fantasy series for many years now. It was a game that was both epic in scale, dramatic, and deeply funny. It really had everything. And that game was World of Final Fantasy, and we're not talking about that game today. We're talking about Final Fantasy 15, which is a perfectly good game. If you are a person in need of 50 hours of your life spent playing a perfectly alright title, Final Fantasy 15 is that game. The problem is I don't really like playing Final Fantasy 15. After 2 months of playing it, I don't think I'm bad at this game, because I don't think you can be bad at this game. Can you die in Final Fantasy 15? Is it actually...
Yeah, against the later bosses you can.
You can? Like, you actually can run out of all the potions and all the Phoenix Downs and every way the game comes to save you? I think the point... I'm going to...
later, but yeah, go on, carry on.
Yeah, I don't like being so negative about Final Fantasy games. I spent maybe years of my life deeply, deeply furious at the Final Fantasy 13 series. And with 15, I'm not mad. I am disappointed because 10 years were spent waiting for this product. And a lot of people are happy with that product, and it's a functional product. I don't see 10 years on the screen in terms of development, but it's not that I'm mad. It's just I don't think it's all that interesting. I don't think it was worth all the hubbub in the end. Simply another AAA title. And well, I got a job right now, so I don't really got time for another one of those. I got other things to play and other things to do. So that's really the problem with Final Fantasy 15. Next guy.
Okay, so am I going to go next?
Yeah, you go next.
Sure. So Final Fantasy 15 was, in my opinion, like Lou said, it was a very competent game. But in my opinion, the game was exactly what the series needed, right? So, for those of you who watched the last podcast, I said what Final Fantasy 15 needed to do was needed to reintroduce the series to people who had been let down by the series in the past, was to introduce it to new people who maybe would never have picked up a game before because they don't like menu-based combat systems or whatever reason they had, and to the players of AAA titles now who are into things like Skyrim, into things like The Witcher 3. And Final Fantasy 15 did exactly that, right? It was a game that can easily work with new players with its action-based system, which it wasn't a perfect action-based system, but it does the job in that it makes the combat feel exciting. It makes the combat feel still interesting. And and even though all you're really doing is like dodging stuff and attacking things and then using magic once in a while, it still feels fun, right? And I think you have warp to thank a lot for that, because I love the warp system in this game, right? So the combat is great. The setting is like easily one of the best since I mean, it's not nearly as good. It's not nearly as good as Nine's setting. It's not nearly as good as Ivalice. But I would say it's up there because the setting, like, it just works really well. It's really well designed.
Sorry.
And like, the setting is fine. The main cast are like, even though they don't have a lot of development, you still end up falling in love with the main cast so much. It works so well. I love the main cast. Right. And the villain, fantastic villain, easily the best since Kafka. Right. The villain's just great. Now, here's the problem. The game clearly, it's blatantly development issues, right? The development issues are extremely blatant towards the later parts of the game, right? It's clear that they had to rush to finish some bits. It's clear that there are scenes that are missing. It's clear that the story could have been so much better if they just finished it, right? And I don't really hold it against them as much as I do with Metal Gear Solid 5, which was also a game from a long-running Japanese series that went open world recently, and that had development issues, and so its story kind of sucked. In that case, it's just the instance of Konami just screwed Kojima over, and tons of stuff went wrong with that. No, I mean, the development issues of this game, I can't really blame them too much for releasing it early, because it's been in development 10 years of really troubled development where they had to restart from scratch over and over and over. But I mean, the development issues are still there. They're still very present. And so I think really good game. It did exactly what it needed to. Could have been a lot better. So it's not the best game in this series, but it's a really fine entry, and I'm pretty happy with it.
All right. For me, I'm basically... I thought the game had some really high highs and some really low lows. I felt like it after I played it, I was like, I'm not really sure if this was how I felt about it when I walked away from it after playing it for like a million years, because the game's really long. It's really mostly the game actually is actually not very long. It's mostly self-inflicted longness because of all of the side quests, which are not that good.
Yeah.
They're not.
Which are bad.
The early ones aren't. The later ones are great, though.
They are? Oh.
Yeah, the later ones are great. The dungeons are later on.
Confessions time. I've only gotten up to... I just beat Ariana Highwind. I guess you two have beaten it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Almost platinum.
I've done none of the post-game content because I don't really care that much.
Maybe if I had unlimited time in the next 75 years or whatever, how long I'm going to live on this earth, I may beat this game, but not really a priority right now.
Well, actually, if you just play the story, the game was actually really short.
Is?
Yeah, there's really only one mission per level, or per chapter. Basically, there's only one mission per chapter, and sometimes the mission's really short. There's one chapter you just go to a power plant, and then the chapters...
There are 15, right? 15 chapters?
14 chapters.
13.
So I'm halfway through this game, and I've only played maybe 20 hours.
There's 15 chapters, but the 15th isn't a chapter. It's
the post-game.
post-game.
It's the post-game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I felt like I really like the scenery of this game is amazing. I really like it. The open world is really empty, and I don't know if it's both a problem and not a problem. I wish there was actually things in the open world, but at the same time, I kind of like the sort of Utah feel, road trip feel that the game has going on with the empty world. But at the same time, it's clear that they could have put more stuff in the open world to make it more engaging to explore. But I really like the way that they make all the natural environment. It's really nice. As Techno said, the game is pretty unfinished, which is kind of a problem. It's really clear once you get to chapter 9 and chapter 10 that they just ran out of money, and
it's about then.
And then you just get on a train for like 3 hours, and they're just like, oh, off screen, a bunch of stuff just happens, and then the game ends. It's actually really strange. It's like
that's what I've heard. That's one of the reasons why I haven't finished.
It's like Chrono Cross. It's like Chrono Cross. If you've ever played that, where they just...
I have played Chrono Cross. I think I'd rather play Chrono Cross than this.
Where the game
I wouldn't compare it to that.
It's not as bad as Chrono Cross, where they just literally just info dump 50 million things at you at the very end of the game. And it's like, oh, by the way, now you're actually a clone, and your father was a cat. And that's
so it's basically like Final Fantasy IX.
No, I think Chrono Cross may be a good comparison, but I think one of the problems, like one of the things I have with this game is that Chrono Cross is one of those games that feels like it had way too many ideas.
Yeah.
And this is just how Square made their games back then. Like Final Fantasy VIII had too many ideas. There was just so much going on. Final Fantasy IX, same thing.
Yeah.
Then lately, and I literally just tweeted about this maybe 10 minutes ago, but lately with Square games or Square NX games, it doesn't feel like any of their games are finished, or like it doesn't feel like there's too many ideas as much as they have maybe 4 ideas they could actually fit in the final product. And this is true in Final Fantasy 13, but it's also true in Final Fantasy 15, where it just feels like so much of this is filler and so much of this is incomplete. And all these characters don't really have arcs, like Ravis.
Well, they just don't appear in the game at all. That's the thing.
A lot of it, yeah.
I mean, it's really
Goat
really
Face
weird.
guy, he doesn't show up, right?
It's really weird because there's like one point early on. I think it's chapter 2, chapter 3, where this character named, I think it's like Loki or something. He comes out from a giant mech. He's like, "I've come to fight you to the death." And it's like, oh, it's a rival character. And then his mech blows up, and then he's never seen again.
Oh no, he does show up again.
I've
seen a boss fight.
Oh,
he shows up again with the boss that you kidnap one time and then runs away off camera.
Oh,
he's like this general guy. He's like in one scene. It's together. They team up and they're generic like mechs in some optional base.
Oh, I didn't even do that.
Yeah, I defeated the optional base.
Maybe I did. I just don't remember. But that's like the example. It's like weird stuff where they have like this one scene. Literally, the Emperor has literally 2 lines in this game. I think at most he has 2 lines, and then he is turned into a demon.
Yeah, I want to talk about that later on because I have many issues with that.
But
can we talk about Kingsglaive for a minute?
Okay, we can talk about Kingsglaive. Kingsglaive sucks. Okay, let's move on.
Kingsglaive does suck.
Yeah.
Kingsglaive, I feel like might be part of the root of a lot of the problems here. Is that all right? One of the things is that I don't think both sides of the Square Enix team were talking with each other, because there are things in Kingsglaive that don't show up at all in this game. Like, remember the fat guy that survives at the end of Kingsglaive? He's not in this at all.
No, he's not.
The other thing is the character Ravis, who is all over the place in these things. Ravis just sort of dies, and spoilers, who cares?
He dies off screen, even worse.
He dies off screen. But in actual Final Fantasy 15, and this was shocking to me, turns out he's a good guy when in, I was about to say World of Final Fantasy, in Kingsglaive, he is a total evil prick. Yeah. Like, all he wants to do is conquer the world and get the Ring of Power. And in this thing, he's not trying for that at all. He actually turns to the side of good, all off camera, all missing, all not there.
Okay, so that's another example of what I said was development issues. I think they even said they wanted to fix the Ravis thing in a patch. But so about Kingsglaive, yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. The whole thing with Kingsglaive and with Brotherhood as well, the whole thing like, oh, you know, like all this info that you kind of need to understand in the game. Yeah, we're just going to shove it into like these movies and these animes. And
the info you get doesn't even. The info you get isn't even like relevant, because Noctis's mom is killed by a Lamia, And I think you fight that Lamia in Final Fantasy 15. I just fought something that looked like that in a dungeon somewhere.
Is that what
and
it's
there's
talking
really
about? Is that what?
I think so.
Like, but how are you supposed to know that?
And blonde kid, Prompto. I forget all the main characters' names.
But
Prompto, he's the blonde kid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. His backstory in Brotherhood is that he was a fat kid that wants to run fast. In Final Fantasy 15, turns out he's actually one of the cyborg robots you're fighting, and he's the son of the mechanical guy in the Empire who never shows up.
One line. It's a throwaway line in the game too. They're just like, "Oh, by the way, I'm a robot," and he's like, "Okay, whatever." They just never bring it up again.
So that's gonna be show up in the DLC. That's not like really all that related to the main story. Like Prompto is gonna have his own DLC, like the other characters.
But that's like a problem though, because then
that is a problem though. They're selling you parts of the game that should be there.
I think it's free actually.
I mean, I'm not going to
just DLC free.
I think all the DLC is free.
No, the Chocobo races in Tiscia, those are free.
I'm gonna check. I think the DLC might actually be free.
I think the character episodes have to be paid because there is a season pass for this game.
Yeah,
so
it's free.
This DLC has to be payable.
Wait, I'm gonna check.
I swear to God. All right, if it's not free, you can ban me from the wiki. Not that I edit anymore, really.
Free.
So
yeah, it's like the DLC, like the characters DLC, I think, is the stuff that you have to either pay for it or get the season pass for it.
Actually, on the PlayStation Network, there's a ton of like dollar swords and stuff you can buy.
Okay, it's not free. Okay, I thought it might have been free, but it's not. It should be free. Because the game isn't freaking finished. But yeah.
It's not that the game isn't finished. It's not as bad as Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah. The game is finished. It just go on, sorry.
No, you have it. No, you're basically just saying what I'm saying. The game is finished,
but it just, you feel like there's just nothing in it, if that makes any sense. Like, the game is competent, and they did it, and...
Sort of. I feel like it's finished, but, like, not fleshed out enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll go on the defense here, but, like, I think, like, the most important emotional moments you want, and, I mean, you really do not see enough of Luna Freya. I basically watched this whole game on YouTube.
Yes.
You really don't see enough of Luna Freya, but like the actual dramatic moments of her getting stabbed in the back in the very ending of this game. The ending of this game is great.
The ending of the game is good.
Oh, yeah.
What's Hashimoto? Is that the guy who directed this?
I actually love the last chapter of this game. I love the last chapter of this game. It's great.
Hajime Tabata directed the game.
Tabata directed this. Hashimoto, he's like the producer or something, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, Tabata, he does really sad endings great because Type Zero's ending is also super sad and also
and Crisis Core. And Crisis Core is really sad.
Crisis Core is shit.
The Crisis Core has a really sad ending though.
Sisney is the only good part of Crisis Core. The rest of it's shit. Anyway,
I actually love the final chapter of this game. It's actually really good.
I think the Ifrit boss fight looks really cool.
It's actually awesome. The final chapter is amazing. It's probably the best part of this game.
Yeah, so here's the thing with I'm going to disagree with you. It's the best part of the game. In my opinion, the post game is the best part of the game. But of the story, yeah, probably the best part. But the thing with Ifrit, right? Great boss fight, but Ifrit really should have been in the volcano. Like there's no one
in the volcano. They just didn't put anyone there.
Like, yeah, that shouldn't have been in like the main story at the very end. Ifrit should have been in the volcano. That's kind of silly.
It's just a weird one of those weird Final Fantasy 15 moments where you're climbing the volcano and there's a weapon there and there's this huge boss arena, but there's nothing there. And you just walk in and
it's a hunt.
Oh, it's a hunt. Okay, but it's a hunt. It's like you feel like you just should fight the boss, right?
And those dude.
But it's weird. I don't know.
No. But you need to start the hunt before like you fight the boss. But the thing is, like the hunt is a 67 hunt, right? So basically, when you're going there to get the sword, you're gonna wonder like what this massive boss arena is doing there, like because there's no way you're gonna activate the hunt at the same time that you're going for the sword thing. Like I agree. That's kind of stupid.
We use this moment to transition mainly from story to world and side quests, I guess.
Yeah, we should.
Sure.
If you allow me to go, you mentioned earlier a game called The Witcher 3.
Yes.
The Witcher 3 is the best RPG ever made, and it is unfair to compare Final Fantasy 15 to The Witcher 3.
I don't think it's the best game RPG ever made, but I agree. The Witcher 3 is you can't.
Witcher 3 is phenomenal.
It's an unfair comparison.
So it is like
too good.
It is
It's
like 5 full-sized RPGs basically in one game.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop you before you carry on. My comparison to The Witcher 3 was not in terms of quality. My comparison was in terms of how they play similarly with the whole open world RPG action kind of thing.
I know, no, that's where I'm going here.
All right, so fair enough.
I'm mainly thinking in terms of how the main movement of this game is. Like, all right, in Final Fantasy 15, what you do in your little towns, I guess you can call them, they're really truck stops, is you go and you talk to the guy at the diner, and he's like, I need a thing, so go run over there and beat up these like 4 monsters and then run back here. And that takes like 5 minutes. Then you go to the guy and he's like, oh yeah, I need another thing. So then you run over another 5 minutes, run back. And this is the cycle. Like every one of these guys is like 10 quests. They're all terrible. Meanwhile, Witcher 3, which is the game that I think Final Fantasy 15 wants to compete with, there are shitty side quests in there, but a lot of the side quests are really memorable and epic. Like there's one completely optional where you go and you sail to an island that's totally off the main quest. You climb up this tower that's full of rats, and you find that there's a ghost girl. And you actually have to go and make an important like decision there as to whether or not you save this ghost girl or whether or not you unleash a plague onto the world. That's just a tiny sliver of The Witcher 3. That's roughly the quest where Sydney goes and sends you, oh, go to a cave and pick up a thing. Yeah, the thing's at the front of the cave, so you don't even go into the cave. You just step up to the cave. You're like, oh, there it is. Just pick it up, and then you go home.
The thing,
that's 10 minutes of Final Fantasy 15. These quests are terrible.
They are terrible. And the thing about The Witcher 3 that it helps the quest so much is the sort of detective, the way that like Geralt is kind of like a detective in a way. And
it's really more the moral quests. Yeah. It's more the moral choices. It's all every quest seems to build the world a bit more and even build the character. The way you're
and there's no real world building in Final Fantasy 15 from the side quests.
No, there is not.
Almost no world building.
So I'm gonna agree with you totally on the whole. From a story perspective, yeah, like the side quests in FF15 suck, and a lot of them are boring. But the thing is, like a lot of the side quests you mentioned, like a lot of the ones that are just the general fetch quests or the general like go kill this whatever quests, you don't even need to do them. Like there's no platinum trophy that you earn for doing them. Like a lot of them don't even want you items that make it worth doing.
And they don't even give you anything.
The whole thing is
do the quests ever get like more involved? Because I had the Behemoth quest.
Yeah, in what sense?
The Chocobo.
No, they don't.
Was the most. That was the one that seemed like it took the most amount of thought and like development, and there was actually a boss there. But otherwise, it didn't seem like there was anything.
Yes. So like Skaith earlier mentioned, like there's a massive battle arena where you don't do anything in it. Like that battle arena is actually used for a similar hunt with Zoo, which like that is a much more involved quest. So that's an example. Like you do get more quests like those like later on, especially in the post game, and you get so the optional dungeons are great. Like the optional dungeons are just fantastic, and then you have like optional dungeons within the optional dungeons, where like you go deeper down to like these challenge dungeons, which are like those are really fun. And
do you ever discover things about the world while you're in these dungeons? Like
that's what I was gonna say. In that sense, no, you don't. It's a disappointing aspect.
And
Dave, I think you were saying there's no world building in this game.
There is no world building in this game.
There isn't a whole lot. And it's a shame because it's actually a really good setting, I feel. Like, I feel like the setting is really unique. And, like, everything, this whole world seems really consistent and it seems to really work well. But there isn't a whole lot of world building, and it is quite a shame.
I really do like the aesthetic of the game.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
Not in love with it, but it looks pretty. It is a pretty.
I'm not in love with it, but I think it's an aesthetic that not a lot of games have gone for, really.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this might be controversial, but like of the few areas in which it is superior to The Witcher 3 is in aesthetic. Is all I'm gonna say.
No, I'm
just say
right there.
I don't agree. But
Final Fantasy 15 is probably a better looking game in terms of graphics. In terms of certain kinds of graphics, it does reflections incredibly. I think it has much larger open fields. It does water beautifully. It actually does towns fantastic, which is weird because there's no towns in this game mostly, and that's where the graphics look best. But It also has like weird bits of jank, which I'm not expecting in a JRPG. There's plenty of jank in The Witcher 3, but in Final Fantasy 15, like you'll get a quest from a guy, and then there'll be like, Prompto will just be walking by past the scene because he's got some sort of automatic thing, or guys will start like bouncing on the ground or whatever. And one thing I've noticed is the hair is terrible in this game. Have you noticed this?
hair works that Witcher 3 has.
But the hair, no, I mean like in terms of all the artifacting that's on the hair, like all the little spikes, the anime spikes they have, there's all these little like pixels you can see. And that wasn't even there in Final Fantasy 13. The hair looks great in 13. I don't know why that came up. Those weird things. The Witcher 3 is just more of a coherent world design, I think. Like in terms of everywhere you go, it seems like there's something to find.
The one thing I
know
do like,
how pretty it is, but it does do a great sort of satire on fairy tales, where 15 is a fantasy based on reality, of course.
The one thing that it does do in terms of world building is I really like the wildlife in the game. I really like the big sort of different creatures that you can see, and they look pretty good. And I kind of like when you fight like a big like bird or something. It looks nice and it looks cool.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say it, like the enemy design in my opinion is the best in the series. Like I think it's the best. And
it doesn't beat 7 at all. Come on, 7's got a house.
The Hell House. Come on.
7's got a house.
7 is wacky. That design is amazing. Come on.
Yeah, but like seriously, if you look at monsters like Adamantoise, if you look at some of the demons in this game, like I don't know if it's fair to say summons, but like if you look at
the summons look really cool.
I love it.
It's fair to bring them up.
Summons are great.
If you look at 15's version of like creatures from the series, I guess like 15 just hands down is the best. Like it makes everything look so epic and it's so good. So that's one of the
I love their Ifrit. I love Bahamut with eyes.
The art direction is really good, and I'll give them that. And when Ramuh comes and just like nukes a whole group of people, it's great. I'm a huge fan of that.
Yes, I love the summoning sequences, and I feel like this game handled summons really well. One of the in terms of magic, that's probably one of the few things it really did handle all that well. Actually, can we talk about magic?
About magic? All right. I haven't really used a ton of magic. The idea is you dump like a ton of spells. There is drawing spells in this game. They brought that back from Final Fantasy VIII. What do you know?
Spells, right?
I figure if you dump like 99 in one attack, that'll cause it to be like super potent. Because I've kind of just been using the bare minimum because I want to, for whatever reason, I think I'm trying to be.
Okay, so as someone who has used the magic system like a bit more, probably more extensively than you guys, because I reached the post game stuff. Can I talk about it?
I kind of forgot magic was in the game, to be honest.
Okay, yeah. So ironically, what you brought up there was actually my biggest problem with the magic system, right? Okay, so I just found out very recently that magic in this game turns out actually pretty good. Okay, so
it is pretty good.
You can unlock the flare spell, and what you do is you basically you pour 99 of your fire into something, and then you have to pour you get to choose an item, right? And
all that junk? I thought that was just like the shit you sell. I didn't know you actually use it.
No. Yeah. So either you sell that stuff, or you
use it on magic, and it gives you like times 5 magic. It heals you, and like use quad casts and stuff like that.
Oh, so you can unlock the regular spells? Because I was gonna say I thought the magic system was super boring if it only had the 3 basic ones.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? So it turns out if you use items such as for instance, if you use the items from the zoo enemy that we just talked about. If you basically kill that guy over and over and over, you can get tons of items for it, and then you can get a flare spell that it breaks the damage limit, so you can have it do max damage to an enemy. And if you pour enough of that item into it, then you can get loads of flares, and then that's how you kill. Yeah, you can get 10. I think I got 12 of them because I got really over the top, and then that's how you get you get to kill one of the hardest enemies in the game with like several 100,000 health or whatever with just magic, right?
That the adamantoise is the size of a city.
No, it's not adamantoise. It's a weaker enemy, but it unlocks a weapon that you basically need to defeat adamantoise. Well, I mean, I found that I needed it. Okay, so that's but the thing is, right? The game doesn't make this very obvious to you. So basically, unless you're using our wiki, hey, advertisement. Unless you're using our wiki, unless you're using a strategy guide or whatever, like you would have no idea any of this stuff exists. Like there are all these like really unique things you can do with the magic in this game, and I think it's pulled off to a decent extent, but not to a great extent. Like I just like it feels it's got loads of options in it, but it also feels extremely limited and really confusing, I would say. So yeah, I just think the magic system in this game wasn't pulled off all that well. Like I don't like how little magic plays into any Final Fantasy. I feel like it could have worked really well, but like the execution of it is just decent at best.
We should probably talk about combat now.
Yeah.
We've gone through all the boring stuff under the hood. We might as well talk about the actual combat.
Just quickly about magic. It looks really cool. One of the problems is it's really unbalanced. Thunder spells are basically total garbage. There's no reason to ever make one.
Really?
They're just terrible.
Not sure.
Are they good against the robots? I assume they're good against the robots because I've played other Final Fantasies before.
But magic does a damage limit even if they're strong against it after a certain point. And thunder spells just kill your party members. That's what I found.
Nope, not if you
party members are useless though. Who cares? They don't do jack. I don't like them. They're just kind of there.
No. Also, if you give it the right item, then you can break the damage limit.
Yeah, but
that's good for like your cooperative attacks. But otherwise, your party members don't do anything.
And ice spells screen wipe. So why would you just not make ice spells all the time? That's how I feel.
Yeah, fair enough. All right.
Anyway, so yeah, combat.
Both like the combat.
I like the combat.
I like the combat. So
I'm
not perfect.
You both you guys go good, then I'll go bad. I'll be the bad guy again.
Okay, do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
I mean, you already kind of went around how cool it is to jump around and everything. I don't think you've talked about it.
I like the okay. The combat, I think it works about 70% of the time. There's a 30% of the time if you're in like a hallway, the combat just doesn't work. The camera just goes crazy, and you can't see anything. And it's
caves.
Like the ice cave. There's an ice cave early on where it just doesn't work. The combat is just horrible in that cave. It's awful. You can't see anything, and your characters just fall off. It's not good. But when you're in the overworld, the combat actually works quite well. I think it can be fluid and fun. I wish you could interrupt your combos and dodge. You can't, which is a little awkward. I like the dashing. The jumping is fun. I think that's a pretty neat addition. I wish she was more like Kingdom Hearts, where you just press the button instead of holding it. I feel like holding the button isn't as satisfying.
No, it really isn't.
I don't hold the button down. I always like mash it rapidly.
I feel like mashing the button. I mean, it's like the same. I feel like it's just more. I don't know. I feel like it's more. It's better than holding down the button. I wish it was. I'm saying is I think I like the combat. I just wish it was a little bit more Kingdom Hearts. I feel like the dodge. Okay, yeah. I wish the dodge was more like a block rather than the dodge where you can interrupt your combo.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna elaborate on that. I think like they did the combat really well. Like the combat's like really neat. Oh, I love warping, by the way. Like warping just makes the combat so much cooler. Like but the combat works really well. It's just again, I feel like they could add more elements to it. So for instance, like so the magic system they've got in it as it is, I feel like that's not like sufficient. I feel like there should be more to mix up the combat a bit. And yeah, like Blue said already, like I feel like your other three party members, other than the techniques, and the techniques are good, don't get me wrong, but other than the techniques and the link strike whatever thingies, like it doesn't feel like you have enough opportunity to really use them. It feels like you should just put all your best equipment on Noctis and have him kill the enemies, and it's kind of disappointing because, you know, I really like the party
They're
members.
useful for tanking things. That's mostly what they're good for.
True.
They're useful for shields.
If this was Final Fantasy 13, they would all be what's the defensive one?
Sentinel.
Paradigm. Sentinel. Yes, SEN.
Yeah.
Ravager.
But yeah, I agree. Party members are useless except for their techniques.
And it's a shame because there are lots of bosses where the strategy doesn't involve the party members at all. So like the one I just mentioned about where you kill this guy with magic over and over. Like so basically your strategy involves letting your party members die because they're pointless, not even healing them. Right? You just let them die because you don't need them. And it's frustrating, honestly. Like because I like the party members, like I love the other characters, but I find myself letting them die all the time.
And in Kingdom Hearts,
you'd allow me to interrupt.
Yeah,
I had some mean things to say about the battle system.
Go for it.
All right. I already know if anyone wants to refute me, they could be like, "Oh, he barely played the game, so what does he want?" You know, he's just some idiot. He barely played. I played like 15 hours of this, so I've given it more than the 50-page test. I know whether or not I like this or not. The thing with the battle system I find is it looks like an action RPG. It's billed as an action RPG, but this is actually weirdly closer to Final Fantasy 12 in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I agree.
It's very automated. You're not actually supposed to attack. You're supposed to just sort of hold it down and Noctis will do all the work. And then you go and switch over to the other button to go and defend, and then Noctis will do all the work. And then when you run out of MP, you go and you jump up to a cliff, and then you warp strike and rinse and repeat. It really feels like every fight is kind of the same that way. At no point while playing this did I ever feel particularly gripped in either an RPG strategic way, where it's kind of like, if this was a turn-based game, I'd be like, oh, all right, I need to adjust my strategy. I need to rethink this, elements this way, kind of get my new Pokemon to do this thing or anything like that. I haven't felt like that. And I never felt the kind of action RPG, just sort of adrenaline rush of, here we go, I got to get good, just got to dodge, do this, and whatever it takes. It's not there, because Final Fantasy 15, for an action game, there's a lot of mandatory damage you have to take.
Yeah.
Like, there's really no way to avoid taking hits from enemies. They don't telegraph half the time, and even if you aren't telegraphing, they'll shoot you from halfway across the thing. Luckily, Noctis is virtually immortal.
Yeah,
The only way to game over in Final Fantasy 15, I said this before, is by player choice.
Okay,
you can buy potions for cheap, and you can buy Phoenix Downs. Game overs, I don't know. Did you ever get one?
Yes. Okay, so let me just contradict you on a few of those points. But for the most part, you're right. So for the most part, you're right in that it's like easy and it doesn't seem to challenge you all that much. And I
found it really difficult at first because it's really weird. It wasn't what I expected at all.
But in the sense of like it not really adding an element of like you needing to change up a strategy or whatever.
More like I thought it would be more like an action game, to be honest.
All right, so early on, that's true. Like in the post-game content, it's not the case. In the post-game content, it definitely challenges you, and you definitely need to think about what you're doing. However, like most of the thinking about what you're doing from an RPG sense is just in terms of what gear you give your people and like how much time you spend leveling them up. So like the strategy is mostly on that sense, but there is quite a bit of it in terms of like should you attack this monster's thing like at this time? Should you attack this part of the monster? Should you like use this technique or whatever? It is there. I'd still say there's not enough of it, and I'm gonna say again on the item system, you're completely right, because basically the strategy with this game early on, like up till that point, is more or less just like either level up your dudes or buy enough healing potions. Like not potions suck, but like buy enough high elixirs.
I would just spam potions like constantly.
Yeah, buy enough high elixirs.
Noctis and friends are like a walking pharmacy.
Yeah, right. So you just buy enough stuff, and then basically you can't lose.
After like long fights, like 5-minute fights, I would stop like caring about strategy anymore. Like I would just like, man, this has been going on forever at this point. So I'm just like, all right, just hit attack. I get hit, potion, hit attack, potion, hit attack, potion.
Right.
It wasn't like this. There wasn't that adrenaline of a really fun, just kind of, oh, here we go. All right. You got to get your twitch sensations up. Like your thumbs you don't have big enough muscles on your thumb. You just got to like, all right, you know what? You haven't poured enough points into this one thing. So it is an RPG. It's more of an RPG than an action game. So I guess it is still a Final Fantasy game.
So this goes back to the point I was making earlier about how the magic system, like we don't have a good enough magic system, right? Like if I would think what this combat system could benefit from is a magic system where instead of like you just buy tons of items, like you would maybe set, I don't know, Ignis to be your guy who's going to use healing magic when needed.
There's
And
no,
you need to
there's,
get
no,
system.
there's no healing magic in this game, but yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
a Final Fantasy
there
13
isn't,
system
and that's
with
a
an
problem.
action game would be great.
Yeah,
Like
they should've done that.
just the paradigm system of Final Fantasy 13 and it's a regular old action game, that would probably be a cool game.
Right. So that's the kind of thing I'm saying, like where you would give one of your guys should be healing, and you should like maybe you can bring back 12's Gambit system for that, like and have that kind of thing going on. Maybe another of your guy will do the equivalent of the techniques that are in the game, like at certain points. I wish there was more of that, like, and there's the opportunity for it there, but instead, like, the only magic system they've got is where you use magic kind of like grenades, and it's overpowered, and it's still pretty limiting in what it can do. But yeah. So like, I just think make the item system less overpowered, like give more abilities and things for your other guys to do, and you have a much better game there, right?
I think
If covered.
If we can, like, I wish it was just more like Kingdom Hearts. And I know that's kind of a silly criticism, but Kingdom Hearts managed to pull off having AI party members that you don't really customize that much and actually making them useful. Or at least they felt useful.
And you set Donald to heal maximum. That's pretty much the one thing you.
Yeah, but you don't need to, but they still feel like they're contributing, and they're not. And I've never really felt like the party members contributed that much during fights, except to tank, to be meat shields.
They distracted the boss.
And
I'll give them
I'm saying
that.
to be meat shields, which is
to use techniques, which by the way, the techniques like they're good, but they're not like essential until later fights.
I mean, the only technique you ever need is Ignis's Overwhelm. When you use it with a bow, it just kills everything in one hit.
Nope. So Ignis's Enhancement is really good. Prompto's Piercer is really good. And then, basically all of Gladio's attacks do tons of damage. And also,
I felt was the best character by far.
Here's a frustrating thing, right? So, the Ascension system, we can probably talk about that later on, but the Ascension system...
Just go for
yeah,
it.
I think we're close to wrapping up, honestly. I don't know what else we have to cover.
Yeah, so the Ascension system
get to it now.
Gives you the ability to make characters like Gladius is... well, he's not Gladius, he's Gladiolus, whatever. But it gives you the ability to make his techniques break the damage limit. But here's the thing. To do that,
it's like
costs so much
right? Yeah.
AP, right? It's disgusting amount of AP. But basically, until you get that, his techniques later on are just useless. But once you get it, they're really good. So that's another frustrating thing about that.
We covered everything battle system wise, or what else? Where else can we go?
I think that's it.
I mean,
that's about it. Should we have final thoughts then? I guess.
Yeah, I would say what else could we possibly talk about here?
Talk about music, I guess.
Yeah, music. Music's really good. I really have no complaints. The music is great.
Yeah, but my problem with the music, I'm going to be the Debbie Downer for once. My problem with the music is while I don't have complaints for it, there also aren't that many songs that stand out to me, right? I mean, the Duske battle track is, in my opinion, that's the best piece. And I really like the theme that's like they do whenever you're on tours. I really like that theme. But for the most part, the tracks don't really stand out to me in the way that like some tracks from the rest of the series have.
I actually like the music.
Yeah, it's really good.
I don't know. I think the Stand By Me by Florence and the Machine, that's pretty all right.
That's fantastic.
Probably my favorite theme is either the very beginning of the game where you're fighting naked Ifrit, and the music goes da 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 da. That one bit, I love that bit, and the fight with Ariana and Loki.
I don't know.
Loku, whatever the hell that guy is, a little kid who you fight one time and is irrelevant. There's the fight against Imperials. That music is fantastic. I've had it stuck in my head this whole time.
I really like the music when you fight a big animal, like if you fight like a Marlboro or something. There's like a music.
That's good.
There's like
I hate that music because I just run away from that shit. I'm gonna bother. That thing's a higher level than me. Whatever. I can just run. Oh! I have one last complaint. Stamina meter while running on the overworld. Who the fuck thought that was a good idea?
Nintendo circa 2012.
Why is that in this game? It does nothing. There's stamina is irrelevant in every other way.
Yeah, I remember in Metal Gear Solid 5 when you can just sprint from basically one end of the map to the other. And it's unrealistic, but who cares, man? I want to sprint everywhere.
I mean, there's even something you can eat in the game that gives you unlimited stamina. So what's the point of having the stamina cap in the overworld? There's no point. I feel like the
food looks beautiful.
Oh, the food looks so amazing. I love the
game
food.
has a great food engine. This is just kind of our relevant.
The video food works.
We've now reached the part of the review where it's just like irrelevant thoughts that we haven't had time to think about. All right, so we should probably hit conclusions. If you two got final thoughts.
All right, good. Techno, got anything to say?
Am I really going first? I can't.
You can go first, man.
Go for it. Live the dream.
This is your moment.
Live it up.
This is your moment. All eyes are on you.
Okay, so to sum up what I think about this game, I think it is a fantastic entry, and I think it's a very welcome entry to the series. And and as I said, in the last the pre-release podcast, I said I hope it does really well, and it has done really well. So I'm pretty glad about that. And I think there are a lot of things that Square Enix can learn from this game, both in terms of good things and in terms of bad things, right? So the bad things, like we've covered, the combat system isn't deep enough, so the characters a lot of the characters aren't developed enough, right? And the world building is not enough of it. Basically, yeah, so most of the things they can learn in terms of what they should spend more time on, what things they should develop more for it to ultimately work. But what they have there is a base for a fantastic game, right? For what could be the best game in the series, possibly. They have a really good base, right? Because you've got a fantastic main cast, an awesome villain, right? I mean, Arden is such a great villain.
I don't think he's all that great at all.
I think he's fantastic. I think he's the best since Kefka. He's a fantastic villain. With
all right, he's
you have the basis for a good story, right? Because the characters have got great motivations and everything. Even if the story is not fleshed out enough, the basis for the story is perfect, right? It works, and you have a great open world. You have a fantastic post game. It's easily the best post game in my opinion since either 10 or 12. It's up there.
Post game is freaking awful. You can't even possibly defend.
I love 10's post game.
No. Butterfly shit. No. Forget. We're not. No. I do not accept that statement. I'm not gonna let you pass with that one.
All right. So the best post game since 12. We're gonna say that.
Post game 13.2. All that DLC. The DLC was better than the actual game.
Yeah, so you have the basis for a great game, and another thing they can learn from this is also that I really love how transparent Tabata was throughout the whole development process, and how they marketed this game really well. But yeah, so basis for a great game, they should have expanded on it more. And ultimately, I'm gonna say I'm happy with what we've got. I wish we've got more, but I'm happy with what we got. And if this is if they make games like this, if they take away the good lessons, but if they know what to avoid in future, then the series is back on track towards a good direction that will actually work.
Gaith, you're the man.
All right. I mostly agree, actually. I like I mean, even though I didn't praise it all that much when we were talking, I actually like the game. I think it's good, but and the game is definitely playable and it's definitely finished and it's not hideous and it's not horrible like any of the 13 series. And so it's a really big step above the 13 series, and maybe my expectations were just low, which I think might be true. And but I liked it when I was playing it. But there are just some parts of it with like the plot is really weird and it's really strangely told. Almost to the point where there's almost no plot in the game at all. That you can, unless you read like a bunch of newspapers, and you have and it's very strange. I really like the final chapter. I think the final chapter is great. It's the sort of like Noctis wakes up. He looks like a homeless, out of work Japanese pop star.
That's only the last chapter? I thought that would be like the last half of the game.
It's the last 2 chapters.
No. It's the last chapter.
Like literally the last hour, he looks like that?
Yeah.
Yep.
He looks like me when I don't shave for about a week. He's got that kind of face.
Oh, but yeah, the one thing is that for some reason only Noctis looks any different in the future. Everyone else looks exactly the same. Which I think is kind of...
Really?
Yeah.
No way, come on.
No,
there's one guy who's 10 years older, but like of the main party, the main party looks the same.
Probably gets a goatee,
The main party
but other
looked
than that,
a
they
little
all look
different,
exactly the same. It's actually kind of hilarious.
Cindy doesn't age or anything. Everyone,
No, they don't even appear. No, those guys
It's just
don't even
10
appear.
years later, he wakes up and like the whole world's totally normal. Like nothing's different, just your main character's changed.
No,
his
the
appearance
world has
changed.
been taken over by demons, but other than that, everyone looks the same. It's kind
You
of
still
fun.
do all the same old shit though.
No, you can't. You have to.
Okay, all right.
You have to travel back to the.
Oh
first...
yeah, there's a time traveling dog in this game.
Really?
Yeah,
Yes.
I love it, man.
Okay, that's pretty Final Fantasy. That might actually improve my opinion. Time travel dog.
After you leave, I think in chapter 9, you get a time traveling dog, and I don't. It's kind of funny, but it's a little one of those weird things. But I like the last mission is fun. I like.
Can
the
you
final
use
boss.
a time traveling dog to beat Lavos in chapter 1?
No,
I don't know about that, but you can use it. You can redo any of the hunts you've already done.
No, unfortunately, you can't go back in time and get a multi. That was Final Fantasy 13 too, man. You could have played that game.
I want to play Chrono. I want to play Chrono Break, which is never going to happen.
Which is never going to happen. You get Chrono Cross instead.
Have you reached your conclusion, or did you have anything else?
And I was just going to say that the final boss is great. I think the final boss fight is probably the best sort of action-packed Kingdom Hearts-y boss in the game, and so I like that. And also, they dump your party members because, like, even the developers the party members are not going to do anything in this boss fight, so you just fight him one-on-one, and he doesn't turn into a giant monster, which is great.
Yeah, he's the first villain that doesn't like transform into a different form.
Also, he doesn't disintegrate.
No, he doesn't.
Actually, I don't think the final boss from 13 disintegrated either. That's just funny.
But no one understands what's happening in the final boss of 13. To be honest.
I guess I'll do my conclusion,
Yeah,
which is, all right, I've been a fan of the Final Fantasy series for a while now, so I could, with 15, I could just take the fact that I don't like this game and just be like, just be awful. Just be an awful person, complain nonstop about this game forever. But I'm not going to do that. Because, yes, like I did with 13, like I did with Dissidia, like I could have done with Type 0, to be honest. Type 0 in some ways is a worse game, but in some ways is a better. But my point with 15 is that I can recognize a good game even when I recognize I don't like it. And 15 is a good game. I would give it a perfectly mediocre 6 out of 10. And I don't mean like game score 6 out of 10. Like it's a passing game. Yeah. If you want to play this game, it's fine for you to play as. I just think that there's so much about it that just kind of makes it bland and just kind of makes it uninteresting and just kind of makes it like this is not really something I'm all that interested in. I want something weird. I want World of Final Fantasy. And everyone else, you can just have your open world game, and that's perfectly fine with you. It plays like virtually everything else. Do have a few minor complaints that I don't think we have done. You can't jump on cars. That's stupid. Also, the main characters should have been a boy band. Would have solved every problem with it.
Yeah, I agree.
The main characters should have been a traveling boy band. And that explains why in the first half of the game, you don't really there's no meandering plot or anything. It's just like, we're going town from town. We're doing gigs. And then it turns into the plot of Green Room. And they get captured by Nazis and they're all slowly murdered by dogs.
That sounds like fine. Oh, also, Flying Car is hilarious, but also terrible. The flying car is probably the
Yeah.
worst edition. It's not the worst
I
edition.
know,
It's
man.
I think it's one of the best editions.
No, the idea of the flying car is hilarious. The flying car in the game, though, is terrible.
I like how it doesn't work at all.
No,
I
it
love
doesn't.
it. I love those videos where no one can get it to work at all.
It just doesn't land. It crashes, and you get a game over. Actually, I have gotten a game over because you just crash the flying car and you get a game over.
You don't even
That's
get
how you
a
get a
chance
game
to
over in
Phoenix
Final
down.
Fantasy 15.
I love when bosses explode in this game and you go down to 0 HP and I'm like, I don't care at all because now I'm back in the overworld setting and my HP will just recover slowly. So my point is, don't let me take you down if I don't like this game. If you like this game and are having fun, keep having fun. As for me, I'll just look back at 12 and 9 and 7 and 10 and all those other ones and just be like, yeah, I'm never going to get a game like that again.
Well, I'm hoping that
whatever.
this game, since it made a lot of money, can give Square the freedom to not make such a safe game. And
They're making 7. They're making 7 for a decade.
They're going to remake. Yeah,
or remaking 7, and they're remaking like 3 games.
Yeah. So
7.
1 point. All right. So we've given our final thoughts, but I actually want to make a point out of that thing, like as a final thought. Like so knowing. So knowing what we know about 15, how it went, and like what was in 15, and so how do we think the 7 remake will go based on this?
Whole other podcast at this point.
Yeah, we can talk about it for a while, but
yeah. So
I'll just go again because I was just talking.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone's tired of my voice, right? I think the 7 remake will be a lot like this. I think it's going to be a big open world game. I suspect the plot's going to get really stripped down to go and make room for all the open worldness.
No, because it's episodic, remember?
Yeah, they say episodic, but if it was episodic, we'd already have a game, or at least have a game out we'd have an episode out.
No, but
all they need to do is make 5 hours of content of some kind. Apparently they just finished or just decided what the battle system's going to be like, which is shockingly depressing to me.
So I don't want to interrupt you for too long, but when they say episodic, they mean they're going to release it in 3 different parts, and each part will be as big as a game. And I think the example they used was the 13 trilogy in terms of length of each one.
Utterly stupid idea.
I agree.
There is not that much meat on Final Fantasy VII's bone.
This is like, I don't want to play 3 Hobbit book movies, please.
Okay. Well, you don't want to spend like a whole hour in Tifa's kitchen where and they sing?
I mean, if at any point when like Cloud is like, he's like on the rocket ship in space and they break out into some sort of dwarven song for an hour, I'm gonna be pretty mad.
But Barrett, he's gonna fall in love with the she-elf.
Yeah, he's gonna fall, and then for some reason there's like a gray elf guy, and then the eagles are there. No, we're not. It better not be like The Hobbit. But yeah, I don't think it needs to be.
Hope that what Square Enix does for the Final Fantasy VII remake is that if they're gonna make it a JRPG, make it a JRPG. Make it turn-based. I like turn-based. I know that's not gonna happen. But if they're gonna make it an action game, don't make it automated. Fuck battle systems. Fuck all that shit. Get Platinum on the case. Because right now, Final Fantasy 15, it's an okay game. But if you want to play a fun game, go and play Nier Automata, which is downloadable now as a demo right now. 60 frames per second. That game is fucking awesome. That is the game you want to play for an action buzz.
March 17th, I believe.
Yes. Go play that.
That game looks good. I like the first Nier game. It's a good game, but it's not Platinum Game's good game. So one final thought for Final Fantasy 15 if I want to be mean. Don't play Final Fantasy 15. Play either The Witcher 3, Nier Automata, or Final Fantasy 12/9. They are re-releasing 12. I don't know if that's really necessary, but
yeah, I'm hyped for that.
Other podcasts. Let's talk about that right now.
No, so Skaith.
Yeah.
It's your turn on the whole. Like, what do you think 7 remake will be like based on 15?
I just agree with you guys. I think that it should. I really don't think a 3-episode thing is necessary. I feel like 7 is from that period in Square Enix where they just experimented more and they felt like they could get away with things that I feel like it's going to be very safe and the expectations are very high, and so they're going to play it really safe. And I would rather that they branched out. It's like when we talked about this like an hour, well, when we started, when we talked about Chrono Cross, where I feel like the game there's lots of substance there. They had too many ideas and they couldn't fit it all in. And I feel like if they split it into 3 parts, it's gonna feel kind of empty. And
Okay. So what I think, like, again, when I gave my final thoughts for 15, what I said was like, if they take away the good lessons from 15, but know what to avoid based on the bad lessons from 15, then their future titles will be good. And I think that's especially true with the 7 remake, right? So if they go for a combat system, and I imagine they might not take the same combat system as 15. I hope they don't take the same one. But like, if they have like similar ideas from the combat system, like the general thing with it was like it makes everything look really pretty and look really exciting and really actionish kind of thing. And so if they make it more deep, right? So if they involve like not just spamming items to win fights and to survive forever, for instance, like so if they have the materia system more
they
involved,
have to have a materia system, right? They can't.
Okay, that's good.
They have to have.
Yes. So if they like infuse the good parts of 15's combat system with like the really good parts of 7's materia system, it will work out really well, right? And now I happen to actually like the fact that they're releasing it in 3 parts, if that means that each of those 3 parts are fleshed out. The problem with 15 was that it was not fleshed out enough. And so, yeah, I think 7 Remake has a lot of potential, and I think if they take the good parts of 15, it'll work. If they take the bad parts of 15, if they repeat the same mistakes as 15, where they don't flesh out stuff enough, where they leave a few ideas unfinished, where they leave scenes out, then we're going to run into some problems. But I hope Square Enix doesn't do that.
Nice.
So, Cloud needs to be Cloud. Hashtag original Cloud. He's not Squall, all right?
No, please no Mopey Cloud. Real Cloud. No.
Squall. No Advent Children Cloud. We want Cloud again, all right? We don't want Squall. Squall sucks. We all know Squall sucks.
And obviously bundle in Final Fantasy VII Remake with Dirge of Cerberus Remake.
Yes.
Here we go, Dirge of Cerberus remastered.
Where's our HD remaster of Dirge of Cerberus? It could be a 2-disc dumb bundle with Shadow the Hedgehog.
Exactly.
Oh, one thing, speaking of Sonic, in Final Fantasy 15, you can ride the gondolas.
Yes.
Unlike Sonic the
There are
Hedgehog
gondolas,
2006.
thank God.
You can ride the gondolas.
Oh man, yeah.
All right, so I guess on that point, we should probably wrap up. So.
Yeah, so...
I've been Blue Highwind.
I've been Scathe, the great and
I don't know what you lot are on about. I still am Techno Obliterator. So.
Blue Highwind. I am no longer.
This podcast has changed us.
I'm going to step out into the wilderness with my shotgun, and I will bring law to the barbarians.